Okay, and again, feel free to jump in with questions, type in the chat, whatever your preference is. Okay, so one kind of cool thing about this version of the app is that you can go back to where you left off if you want to. So this little box in the lower right-hand corner, app state, you can click that, and wherever you happen to leave off the previous time you were using it, it will zoom in, turn whatever layers on and off that you had on before. So that's a nice new little piece of functionality. Okay, so in addition to the pros that I mentioned before, primarily, that it's more stable and that we have more in-house control over this application. One additional big thing is that it is mobile friendly. So if you used the previous community map, it doesn't work well on a phone or tablet. And we had a separate application, the mobile parcel viewer, for people to use on their phones. This single application replaces both versions of both the mobile parcel viewer and the previous community map. So this is very mobile friendly. It's also location enabled. So if you're using it on your phone out in the field, you can find yourself using this locate button right here. This is not going to work right now for me because I don't have location services enabled on my laptop, but this should work on your phone and zoom you right to the location on the map where you currently are. So that's nice if you're doing field work. Okay, so just talking about basic navigation, up here in the lower left-hand corner are the basic navigation tools, zoom in and zoom out. Pan, so just moving around the map, is just the left-hand mouse button. So just push down the left-hand mouse button and then you can drag the map wherever you want it to go. You can click in using the plus button, zoom out using the zoom out button. You also, if you have a mouse with a scroll wheel in the middle, you can scroll the wheel to zoom in and out. And then this button right here will take you back to the full county boundary. That's the home button. So we're just going to kind of go through these tools mostly in order. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but first one on the list here is the layer list. So if you click this, this will show you all of the layers that are available in the community map. Most of these are all the same as the previous community map. There are a couple changes. First of all, the APA wetlands and DEC wetlands, we are pulling these web services directly from the organizations that host them. So previously, before Cloud GIS, we used to periodically get copies of APA wetland data, DEC wetland data, the APA state land classifications data that we didn't maintain, but that was used regularly by users of the community map. So we needed to beware of updates, keep our eyes out for them. Every time that happened, needed to clip them to the county boundary, republish, reprocess all of the data. Now with the advent of Cloud GIS, we're able to bring that data in directly from the Adirondack Park Agency or DEC. And so that ensures that this data is always the most up to date that the host agency has published. A couple additional pieces of functionality that are really nice in this new layer list. So if you click on these three dots right here, you'll see that you have the ability to set transparency. So I'm going to do this on a different layer. So for instance, here's the Bolton zoning, and I can slide the transparency of that zoning. So this is really nice if you have a lot of layers stacked on top of each other. This enables you to see, for instance, if you wanted to have APA land classifications and zoning and wetlands and floodplains all on at the same time, you can make the zoning more opaque or transparent to kind of meet whatever needs you are looking for. So you'll also notice some of these layers are grayed out. That means that they are scale thresholded. So it means that they will only turn on if you're zoomed in a particular distance or zoomed out a particular distance. Most of them are zoomed in. The reason we do that is to improve performance. It takes a long time to draw a whole county's worth of parcels, but it goes a lot faster if you're zoomed in and you're only drawing parcels for a particular area. However, the nice thing about this new legend is you have some flexibility in controlling this yourself. So if you click this, the first option it will do, you can choose a zoom to, which will essentially zoom to the scale that's required to turn the parcels on. But you can actually set your own visibility range. So if for some reason you want to be able to see parcels way zoomed out, you can change the visibility range so that you can see the parcels farther zoomed out than you are. So sometimes if you have a really large parcel, the scale threshold may be set so that the parcel doesn't turn on. I know that that was a problem in the old community map. Sometimes if people wanted to get multiple parcels that were really large onto a map, the parcels would turn off. This allows you to manage the visibility yourself. One also really nice additional functionality about this is the ability to turn on and off the labels. So I know sometimes if you're zoomed into a congested area and you're trying to print a map and you have a ton of labels, it can cover up whatever other layer you might want to display underneath, perhaps the aerial photography or wetlands. So you actually have the option in this new version to turn the labels off if you don't want them to be visible. Okay, so again, most of these are all the standard layers that were included in the previous community map. One thing I want to note is the imagery. So all of the state imagery back to 2004 is available here in the layer list. So one thing that you may have noticed using this new community map, we are pulling these imagery layers now in from the New York State GIS department. They're the host, they're the ones who flew the imagery, they host the layers. The state has scale thresholded these layers and they will turn off when you zoom in super close. I think this, I don't know why exactly they've done that, if they've done it for speed or if they've done it for accuracy. You can zoom in pretty far, but if you zoom in really close, you may have found that the imagery will turn off. So one thing, again, you can zoom in really close, like this is pretty close. However, if you come across a situation where you have zoomed in so far that the imagery turns off, I just wanted to make you aware of the fact that the 2018 imagery is also available in the base map gallery. So if you go into the base map gallery, it's this layer right here. This is the 2018 imagery, and this will not turn off. So if you're ever in a situation where you're zoomed so close in that you can't see the imagery, use this one instead. Change this to your base map. Okay. Okay, so here's one question. Is the imagery from satellite or photos from airplane capture? It is from airplane capture. It's flown by the New York State GIS office every 5 years or so, 4 to 5 years. The state just flew Warren County again. They do it typically in April in a very short window between snow melt and leaf out. And they did that again this April. We will be getting the imagery sometime in the next several months. And as soon as it's available, I'll add it into the community map. Was there another question?
Yes. Which imagery option is most up to date and suggested to use?
Okay, so I'm not sure if anybody heard that question, but there was a question about which imagery option is the most up to date and best to use. So again, the 2018 imagery in the layer list and this imagery base map are identical. They are the most current and would be the most recent to use. This imagery hybrid right here is also the 2018 imagery that has some road name labels in it. So either of these two are fine, just depending on whether or not you want labels. There's not a ton of labels, but they're useful if you need them. Okay. So
will you send us an email to let us know when that new imagery is available? Or will there be an update launched or
yes,
somehow?
absolutely.
Okay.
We'll announce it on the community map. We'll definitely send an email to our usual mailing list where we announce parcel updates and all of that kind of thing. And yes, we'll have it in the splash screen of the community map. So I know there's an option to turn that splash screen off. One nice thing about having full control over this application is I can use that splash screen to kind of make announcements. If we have time at the end of this, we also are going to be launching next week a whole new GIS hub application, which is going to have a ton of data, apps, maps, all sorts of stuff in it. And we'll have an announcement section on that website as well. So if I don't have time today, I will include it in an email that I send to everybody, and I'll definitely put it in that splash screen of the community map. You can also check on the GIS page of the Warren County website. That should go live next Tuesday. Okay, so moving on. This is the legend. So if you have turned on a layer and want to see what the color is, you can check over to the legend. It will show you the symbology for any layers that you have turned on. So I'm going to just turn off our imagery here, I think. Okay, so one additional tool that is not in this toolbar, but is very widely used, is just your left mouse button. If you click in it, it will give you information about whatever feature you've clicked in and whatever layers you happen to turn on. So if you have zoning turned on, if you have wetlands, if you have flood zones, whatever you have turned on will show up in the area that you click. This button right here is the help. This has some very basic information about frequently done completed tasks. We'll be adding to this over the course of the next couple months. I'll also be putting the video here. So the recording of today's session, I'll have a link right at the top if you want to watch it again. Okay, so moving on to number one task, how to find a parcel. So the functionality for this, I think, is a substantial change from the old community map. And I think there are some pros and some cons. So one thing that we've implemented is this very quick search up in the upper left-hand corner. So this search allows you to enter any text that you want. You can enter a tax map number, an owner's name, and address. One thing that I will note is that it is fairly picky about requiring a match, especially for addresses. Our assessors use a variety of formats for entering addresses. So this may be a more difficult way to do an address match. But if you're just doing a quick search, it's pretty simple to just type a name in, select the correct parcel from the drop-down list, click on it, zoom to it. It will give you a pop-up of all of the basic parcel information. Up at the top of this, you'll notice that there's sales history and ImageMate. So again, in the old community map, these are little icons across the bottom. They're now links right at the top. This goes out to Real Properties sales history database. It selects the correct parcel. And this one goes out to ImageMate, goes to the correct parcel. Okay, if you need to do a more complex search or you're not having success with this quick search on the left-hand side, you can use this more detailed search functionality on the right-hand side. So one thing that is different about this search, and I will say, I will readily admit that the old search is better than this search. We are limited functionality is available to us in the software. I'm hoping that they'll improve this functionality down the line. We'll definitely keep an eye out on any improvements to functionality. But one thing we've noticed that people are forgetting to do is hit the apply button. So you can type in anything you're looking for here. It's going to give you what it thinks is the top choice, but 99.99% of the time, that's not going to be what you're searching for. So just click on search more, and then you should get the complete list of everything. And you can pick out which particular one you want and then hit apply. And then it will zoom to that particular parcel, pop up the parcel information for that particular parcel. If there are more than one parcel that meet that criteria, they'll be in the scroll list. So you'll see in this case, there's 2 parcels owned by Ames Goldsmith Corporation. They're stacked one on top of each other. My personal opinion is I really prefer this linear scroll than the horizontal scroll on the other application. I know people may have different feelings about this, but for me, this is easier to navigate this linear instead of having to scroll horizontally through the results. Okay, and again, this works the same whether you're searching for a tax map number or property address. When you want to reset your search, just go back up and click empty, and that will essentially reset your search. So one question that we've had as well is how to get a map to print with the parcel highlighted. So on the old community map, when you did a search, it would highlight the parcel in turquoise. Using this search does not, this quick search in the lower left-hand corner doesn't turn the outline of the parcel turquoise. Using this search will. So if you want to create a map with the parcel outlined like we're looking at right now, make sure that you use this more detailed search instead of the quick search. One additional cool functionality about this search is you can rename the results. So you may, if you've used the old community map and you've printed a map with a parcel selected like this, you may see on that map at the bottom in the legend, it says parcel search query result or something like that. You can actually change the name of this layer. So I'm gonna, for instance, I'll type in Frankenfeld here. I'm gonna type this Frankenfeld parcel. I'm gonna hit apply. And now when I make my map, it's gonna show up as Frankenfeld parcel in my legend, which to me, as a person who makes maps, is a massive improvement. I know some people don't care about that, but that was something that drove me crazy. Okay, and with that being said, I'm gonna skip over to the print functionality. So this works very similarly to the print functionality in the old community map. It's pretty much identical. There's a little bit of difference in functionality, which I'll go through briefly, but one thing you've probably noticed is it's slow. Okay, so I can enter my map title. I can choose what size and orientation I want. I can choose what format I want. If I click on advanced, I can force the scale. So if I want to print my map at 1 inch equals 100 feet or 1 inch equals 200 feet, I can force that scale by entering it here in the force scale. So in this case, I want my map to be at 1 inch equals 200 feet. And again, remember that's absolute scale. So you need to multiply by 12 if you're gonna do that. I can also change my scale bar units. Then I'm gonna hit print. And I won't lie, this is slower than the old one. That being said, the old one did not work periodically. And this, I haven't run into an instance of this not working yet. Watch, it will probably happen right now. Let's hope not. I can click on it. And it will open in a new tab, and you'll see that my legend here is shows up as Frankenfeld parcel. My scale is absolute scale. In this case, probably I should have done this at 1 to 1200, or should have turned off labels, one of the two. Okay. Moving on, the measure tool. This functionality works exactly the same as the community map. So we have the default units that most people want to measure in for area, distance, and location. So measuring distance, it's set to feet, but you can drop that down and change it to whatever you'd like to measure in. To start, just click at a location on the map, click where you want to stop measuring, and it will give you your results. You can continue this. So if you want to do a perimeter, you just keep clicking. When you're done, double click. If you want to start over, you can clear. Same thing with area. So it's going to default to measuring in acres. So in this case, obviously you need to create a polygon. Double click when you're finished, and it will give you your acreage. This right here will allow you to click at a location, and it will give you the latitude and longitude of that location in decimal degrees. If you need a particular location in a different format, you can use this coordinate conversion tool right here, which will allow you to, and I know this is not a hugely used tool by most of the people using this application, but this is used by some people. Allows you essentially to just pick a location on the map, and then you can, it will populate it in a whole variety of different coordinate systems. So that is useful for some people. Okay, this is the draw tool. And again, this is very similar to the previous community map, in which you have a lot of functionality here. If you want to just add a point, if you want to add areas, if you want to add lines, if you want to add text, you can click on whichever one of those you want to use, enter whatever text, change your color, your size. And then just click on the map wherever you want to put it. Same thing with circles, freehand polygons, anything that you want to add here. And this will all print out in the print. So You can also add show area and choose what particular units you want. Just clear it when you're finished. Okay, and finally, mailing labels. These work very smoothly. However, the results are, as Jeremy has, has made us aware, the old parcel, the old labels used to be editable. The new labels are not editable. We are going to be continuing to do research on this because I know that this is, you know, that many of you edit the labels before you print. So I would say just bear with us, and hopefully we'll figure out some way to get them to be editable. In the meantime, they work very similarly to the old labels. Just find your parcel, apply your buffer distance, and then you can download these. These are Avery 5160. So just click on download. And this will pop up labels ready to print at Avery 5160. You can also download the resulting selected parcels as an Excel spreadsheet by dropping that down to the CSV option. So if you really need to do a lot of revision of your results here, I'd recommend you do this and do a mail merge. But again, we're going to continue working on this and hopefully get a resolution to making those labels editable. Okay, so that is a very quick overview of all of the basic functionality. And at this point, I'm gonna open it up for questions. So feel free to unmute yourself, type in the chat, whatever you'd like to do. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Sarah, can you show the layers again? There wasn't anything that looked like topo or something that's a layer.
Okay, yes, so there is not a layer for topo, it is a base map. There are a variety of options here. There is terrain with labels, there's topographic, there's USA topo map. So these are the 21 to 24,000. I'm just gonna turn off the,
Okay, so I don't find it in layers, I find it over in the base map.
yeah, so it's in base maps. So this is the, you know, USGS topo maps that you're
Okay, that's what I was looking for, yes.
This is this is a hillshade terrain. My particular favorite base map is this USGS national map. This is based on the on the 1 to 24,000 quad maps, but the resolution is just a little better and it's just cartographically nicer to look at. So I would say if you're looking for contours, I would use one of these two at the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And this topographic is the default base map. So when you open the application, the default one that comes up is this topographic base map. So if you ever want to get back to the very beginning, you can of course refresh the application and it'll all reset, or you can choose this base map.
Okay.
There's lots of good ones. So these are all third-party commercial base maps, but there's lots of nice base maps. This OpenStreetMap one has building footprints, which is kind of nice. I think you have to zoom in fairly closely to see them, but it has building footprints with addresses, which is nice. Again, this data comes from us, but as far as how frequently it's updated, we don't have any control over that. So if you want to see the most recent E911 data, definitely make sure that you turn on the address points layer, and that will be our official E911 address point data. So even though, again, this is pulling from our data, we don't have control over how frequently that happens, whether they've implemented changes, you know, how recently. Okay. Any other questions?
Kathy in Town of Hague. Our parcel search, when you're looking for an owner's or an address name, I type in the address, and even when I include Hague on there, it comes up Horicon or Warrensburg. Is there a way just to search for an address? Often people just, I'm looking at a parcel, here's the address. Ours does not, even when it drops down, none of those addresses are in Hague to choose from. How do I do that?
Okay, so what you want to do is, and this is off the screen just on my laptop here, but just even though I know that it's not showing, you can still type in a full address here.
When I do, it just goes back to empty.
Do not no,
Do not
so
include Hague.
don't include Hague. So even though it's saying empty and it looks like you just have a scroll bar, just type your address in and click enter.
But even when I do that, none of those parcels are in Hague.
Okay, this is not, we did not set up the functionality to limit the search by municipality, because the search is already so constrained to the database. So in the old community map, you could type in anything and it's just looking for the best match. The way we set this up is it is only matching against the assessor's database. So that makes searching by address more accurate. However, it also makes it a little bit trickier to implement. We can add additional functionality to allow you just to generically search by address and not constrain it to the parcel database. That's an option. However, if we do that, users just need to be aware that your results may be not what you're expecting. So
I put in my address and I'm scrolling down. It still hasn't found me. But
So,
okay.
yeah, no, that's helpful feedback. We can definitely broaden the address search. I know, for instance, I was telling Amanda just today, typically I use my aunt and uncle's property as a demo property when I'm doing this kind of stuff. And when I was testing this out this morning as we were getting ready, I was typing their address in and I did not get any results. So here's a good example. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on with this? I know that that is their street address. So what I realized is I backed this out. So I searched for just 487. And then I started getting a bunch of results here. And I realized that unbeknownst to me, my aunt and uncle had consolidated their two pieces of property. And the assessor had put the two addresses together because of the consolidation in the address field. So I wasn't getting a match because I had two addresses together. So one thing that you can do is just back your address search out a little bit. Just either try typing in just the road name, try typing in just the number, and seeing what kind of results you get from the drop-down list. We can also, like I said, broaden the search. So if this is causing a problem for other people, or if it's just, really making life inconvenient, just let me know, and we can change the search parameters to make it wider.
And one more thing on the mapping, I see Bolton has their zoning codes embedded on the map. Hague does not. And so it's causing a lot of phone calls because they don't know how to find it. So then I have to, because the colors are inconsistent. Hague used to have our zoning embedded into the colors of the zoning map. where people
I
know
guess
how to do that, but then they don't know how to find the coordinating graph for the colors. If that
Oh,
could
you
be
mean like,
possible,
the label.
the land use
Okay,
zoning, yeah. I saw
okay,
Bolton had it, we don't. It
okay,
would be-
okay. Yes.
Oh,
we'll
how
turn
did you
it
get
on.
that? How
Okay,
did you just do that?
that's a good question because I mentioned this very briefly in the beginning, but
I'm
I want to
sorry.
go back to this.
Missed it.
So first of all, to answer you, yes, we will turn labels on for Hague zoning. That was just an oversight and an easy fix.
Thank
But when you have zoning turned on, all you need to do is click in the parcel, and then
Yep.
here up at the top, it will show you results for whatever layers are turned on. So in this case, parcels come up first. Just click that arrow over, and then you'll see that it shows you the zone for that particular zone.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
And that's the same thing with wetlands, APA land classification, flood zones, any layer that you have on, all works the same.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Does anybody else have any questions or anything they'd like to see more details about? See me do again? Anything that you could do on the old community map that you can't figure out how to do on this one, or not sure if you can do it? Okay. Any overall feedback? Now's your chance. Of course, you can always send us an email or give us a call.
I think we all need a little more time to play with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will most likely schedule another training session in a few months when people have had more time to play around with this. Also, I know a lot of the assessors weren't able to make it today. So we'll definitely do another training session. In the interim, feel free to get in touch anytime, send us an email, give us a call, and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks for
Thank
attending.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.